Hi everyone, I'm Onita and welcome back to our podcast about everything children. You tell me, comment below and tell me what do you think we should call it. I'm going with now that we have children, what do we do? Now that we have children, what do we do? Right? We all want to know that. And I'm really glad for you guys to be journeying with me as we talk a lot about our children. We pray for them. We encourage our mothers and fathers to get more involved and give a lot of tips where, we might not know what to do in difficulties and crisis. The truth is, we are parenting in a very special age, a very special time, a very special season where we need a lot of grace and wisdom and we need community. And the irony is, in this season, we are most isolated from each other, even with sometimes within the same household. And so we are going to try to work those kinks out together. And so journey with me. If you've not seen the other podcasts, please check them out. And it will just pretty much be telling you why we've started this podcast in the first place and how we plan to talk about children. How do we plan to raise them up, And we're going to be going through all the stages of development, and we're also going to be talking about their personality types, their love languages. How do we reach our children in this age when everything is vying for their attention? So stick around, like, subscribe, share, and I'm telling you, we are going to journey together. So now that we have children, what do we do? Everybody, as I said in the last podcast and will continue to say, everyone loves to enjoy well behaved children. So, how do we get them there? It's success for them. It's not just success for you as a parent, but it's success for them. They get to enjoy more games, longer play times with their friends because they're willing to take turn. They're willing to, give up. They're willing to be so grateful. And when the time comes to leave, they comply with you because you have prepared them for success, because they're used to the routines, and because they have become aware of what it is to be on their team, in their family, working in their sphere, wherever they are called to, because each of our children have purpose. They have purpose. They were born for a reason. Their particular sets of talents and giftings are like no other. Their particular combination is like no other, just as their fingerprint differs from each of us across the world. And so stick around. Today, I'm kind of pausing on talking about routines and trainings and discipline. We will continue that. But something came to my attention. I'm reading a book. I'll share it with you. It's called How to Talk So That Little Kids Listen by Joanna Faber and Julie King. I really think it's a good book. One of my best friends sent it to me from Scotland, and I am so grateful that she did. Thank you so much, Jody. And this book, I've been going through it now. I want to share a story from the book with you, and and you'll see how relatable it is. I will talk a little bit more about it. It's titled Julie's Story, Road Rage. I got the call that my grandmother passed away in the afternoon, but I couldn't get a flight out to the East Coast for the funeral until the next day. I didn't have the heart for cooking dinner, so I decided to take the kids out for pizza. But the car ride turned into a nightmare. Rashi whined that he wanted to listen to Rafi. Asha told him that Rafi is for babies. Rashi insisted. I'm not a baby, Asha said. Yes, you are a baby. You listen to baby music. They went back and forth. Rashi started to cry, and my feeble, hey, hey, had no effect. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't draw up a single tool. I was paralyzed by grief, furious with Asher for taunting Rashi. I parked the car, and Asher decided to climb into the front seat and search my glove compartment for more mature music. I felt a sudden overwhelm, urge to slam the glove compartment on Asha's little fingers. I caught myself in time, but the feeling of wanting to hurt him was so powerful, it scared me. I learned from that day, when extremely upset, don't get into the car with little kids and drive them around for pizza. Take care of your own emotional needs if you can. In retrospect, I should have said, kids, I'm very sad tonight. I can't go driving. It's cereal and milk for dinner. Now, I don't know about you, but I can relate. Can you relate? I mean, many of us would never dare, say those thoughts out loud, that you would slam the glove compartment on a little one's fingers. She dared to write it, for those who would think of such a thing. In a day that it's overwhelming, things are happening left, right, and center. Now, here in Julie's story, she was dealing with a loss. She was grieving, overwhelmed, trying to organize a flight to go out to that funeral, wanting to be with her family, not getting that opportunity right away. That must have been so difficult to manage, and to now go make dinner and feed all these children and such. And so we can relate. In many instances, and I also know for Julie, she may not feel this way often, this kind of extreme, but it happens. But the reason why I would like to bring it up today, or now in this podcast, as we journey about, raising our children and, training them. One of the things we must do is take care of our mental health, take care of ourselves, you know this mental health talk is going around, and some persons have extreme difficulties, depression and so on. Many of us are on the brink. We don't know what's happening. We're not checking in as much. We're not showing up to our regular places. If you go to church, if you go to work, or certain routines that you and your other moms would get together and do, you might be missing in action because you have a low moment or a low season. But what's important, just in the same way that we must pull on community to help raise our children, not to be fearful of asking questions and getting advice and using wisdom from older persons who are gone ahead of us, who their children are older and doing well, because you want to also connect with older moms who you see with the results in the children that you would like. You take their advice, you take their life in some sense, right? And so we want to have that. And this, I believe the scriptures are there for that kind of growing up and wisdom that we need for life and godliness. The Bible does tell us that everything is in there. God has given us for life and godliness, but lots of wisdom, and we must learn from each other, especially women who have gone ahead of us, men who have gone ahead of us. Now, sometimes we don't need as much as probably counseling. Sometimes we do, even when it seems it's very simple, or tomorrow you might feel better. In Julie's case, I believe she needed a break. She needed community. She needed the evening off. Simply, like she said, in retrospect, to say, kids, Mommy is very sad tonight. Acknowledge what's happening with you. How are you doing? You're feeling frustrated. You are emotional. You're heartbroken. It might not be a grandma dying, but something else has happened. You're feeling lonely tonight. Something, that has caused you to not be able to follow your regular routine or be healthy for your children. One of the things that I always note when we are flying, and we all hear them give us the instructions before we take off, that if we are in any kind of danger and are on our or masks fall, or mask for breathing, we should always get ours first before we turn to help somebody else or even our child. And it's so important because you're of no use. You are of no use to the other person, to your children, if you are not taking your vitamins, getting some exercise, having persons who you talk to from time to time, and especially when it gets overwhelming and so on. I am in a season where I have little ones, and that's more than one little ones at a time, even though I also have an older son who has who is navigating special needs. So that's also additional to my little ones. And so sometimes you may feel overwhelmed. Sometimes you might not have enough time for yourself. And so one of the things that's important is routine. Just in the same way routines help our children, routines help us, getting up at a certain time to just attend to yourself, taking care of your hygiene. It will make you feel better. Some weeks, maybe twice a week, you need that phone call with a friend who you can talk with, a friend, a female friend, maybe an older woman, maybe somebody who is having little ones just like you. You guys can just talk and say, boy, this week getting the kids out was very difficult. I'm so tired, I feel a little frustrated, I feel a little, whatever, you name it, and you guys talk about it, swap ideas. You might get some wisdom from her and she gets some from you, just to go and get it done again, or just some encouragement. In this situation, Julie could take a hug. I believe Julie could have done so well with a hug from a friend, her husband. Maybe he was not home from work as yet, and that's why calling or messaging or talking, FaceTime, whatever it is, do it so that we can live our lives in community. We need to live our lives in community, and this is a part of having well behaved children. In many regards, in this story, Julie was not able to do right by her children. She was thinking of harming her child. Even if we can relate to it, it doesn't mean that this is actually something that should say you need a break. It's an alarm. It's a flag. It's a notification. It's something that is saying attend to something, attend to what's underneath, so that we can get back to raising our children. They need us to guide them. They need, in that situation where one child is taunting the other, or one child is being bullied, or whatever the situation is, they need the firm correction, the quieting down, the redirecting, reminding them no. Once you have, and in that situation, if you could have, she could have, if she was in a state to be, a lot more put together in mind. She needed a break. But apart from that, maybe if she wasn't dealing with a loss and it was a regular evening that she didn't feel like cooking but just going out for pizza with the kids, she could quiet them down, remind them to be kind to each other, and then redirect them to what is expected when they get out to pizza, when they get to the restaurant, what behavior is acceptable and what is not, setting them up for success. That's one of the tips that have helped me a lot with my children. I got it from persons who are raising children ahead of me, who have good, well-behaved children, and I find that it works with my children. We are going out to the supermarket. We are going out. We said we were going to touch on children today, but we were able to get a little bit in. We're going out to the supermarket. We're going out to the pharmacy, and on the way, on the drive, we begin to talk about it. Where are we going now? What is expected? We are not going to be touching things, and we're going to be staying on one side of the aisle. This is something we go over and over again, and we say it so much, and I can say, what's expected one, what's expected two, and then somebody in the car repeats it. And so when we go there, it's almost fun. They know what to do. It's fun to get back in line. My daughter walks around the supermarket with her hands behind her, and or in her pocket so she doesn't touch. And what's happening with her is that she's also growing her communication skills. If she sees something she wants, she'll describe it. She says, Mom, it's in the pink bag, it's on the second shelf, something like that. And she's learning other things, placements and relations, and stuff like that underneath over. She's 3 years old. And so, there are ways to do this. So set our kids up for success. And one very important way to set our kids up for success is taking care of ourselves, the parents who need to be stable for them emotionally, stable for them even in our own behavior, managing our volume when we speak to them, also respecting them, operating in integrity by example so they too can operate in integrity. And this is stuff that we would want to model for our children. So if we're in a difficult state, we share it. So they too are learning about emotions. I'm disappointed right now. I need some time away, guys. Give mommy a moment in her room. Mommy's gonna take a shower. I'm feeling very tired and I'm feeling sad. Share with them your feelings. I'll be back in a few minutes. You set your alarm, you go back in a few minutes, and you try to go back to routine. And sometimes you pull away from routine. Probably you need to hug. Even the children, a hug from my daughter does wonders for me when my husband is at work. And so it's important to do that. And so I would love for you to comment below. Tell me about some things that you do to take care of your mental health, even on a daily basis, not waiting until you are dealing with a crisis or a loss. What are some things that you do? And let's just stay connected. What questions do you have? If I'm not addressing, if you'd like me to address things that you are having difficulty with now, leave it in the comments. If you want me to address a stage of development where I'm not yet at, leave it in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to them. And it was awesome to spend time with you today. Remember to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next podcast. I'm Juanita, and we are on the journey to having well-behaved children.